Hello quilting friends. Well, today I am going to work on block 2 of our block of the month and show you how I'm going to do my snowman. Again, we've got a fairly simple shape to work with, a little more going on than just the circles we did in month 1, but no problem for us. I've got my machine all set up and ready to go, so I'm going to bring up my bobbin thread here to start. And drop my needle right back down in that hole. Okay, I chose to start on this section of the snowman because it's a little straighter than some of the other curves, and when I'm just starting, if I do have a straight section, I like to kind of begin there to get myself used to my stitch. So I'm going to start with a few straight stitches, about 5 or 6. And then I'm going to switch to my buttonhole stitch, and here we go. Okay, and as I approach that, I am going to slow down a little bit so that I can stop my needle right where I want it to be, and that is right at that pivot point. And I love it when it works out perfectly like that. If I was a little bit short, I'd just sneak a little stitch in there, a straight stitch, to get it where I wanted to, but it worked out perfectly that time. I'm going to pivot here so that I cut in, well, let's see, actually I'm thinking about it, I kind of want his head to look like it's kind of rounded there, so I'm going to go ahead and have my stitch go at an angle that direction. Now I'm going to pivot and work my way around the head. Once again, remember that when you pivot, always pivot when your needle's on the edge of the applique, not when it's over in the bite part of the stitch. I'll go a little slower around this curve. On some of these smaller curves, sometimes you end up making a pivot pretty much every stitch, but it ends up looking really nice that way. Okay, I'm going to continue on around. Well, maybe I'll wait till I get here so we can see how that pivot works too. My sewing machine did come with a knee lift attachment I can add instead of having to lift the presser foot up by hand each time, but with the table that my husband and my brother made for me a few years ago for my sewing machine, the knee lift attachment doesn't work very well for attaching, so I'm just content to lift with my hand. I forgot to mention too that I went ahead and the parts that I could trace onto the little snowman, I did that before I attached him, as you can see. And we're getting close now. And you can see I'm going to be a little bit off. If I take the next stitch, it's going to be onto the applique. So I'm just going to manually move my needle forward and put it where I want it for that part of the stitch. And I actually probably wanted to go the other way there, but I was distracted. Oh well. The nice thing about quilting and working this process is probably the only person who will notice that that stitch went a different direction than I really wanted it to go. I should have stopped then when it was in the hole and pivoted around so I got that nice look to my little round head. But probably the only person who's going to be aware of that, aside from those of you who are now watching this video, is me. We are our own worst critics. No one else is really going to notice that one little stitch going a different direction. Alright, I'm going to stitch around the rest of my snowman and then come back and show you how I finish off. Okay, so I've worked my way around my snowman and I'm coming up back to the stitches I started with. So I'm going to clip these threads out of the way here. And then continue with my buttonhole stitch for now. And now as I'm coming to that straight stitch, I'm just going to continue my buttonhole stitch up to where I switched over to the buttonhole stitch. And because I have, it started with the bite, when I finish, I'm going to take the straight back and forth and stop before it does the next bite. I'm going to stop before it does the next bite. Anyway, that works out just fine. I'm going to switch back to my straight stitch now and take a few stitches right across the top. And then I have a locking stitch on my machine, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Alrighty, I'm going to clip my little threads here. Now I'm going to go ahead and leave this stabilizer on until I finish doing the embroidery. Excuse me. Until I finish doing the embroidery on the, it'll keep everything nice for doing the hand embroidery too. But there we have our little snowman stitch in place, and that little spot where I wasn't happy with how I did my turn, it looks just fine. Sometimes, like I said, I can be my own worst critic. Alrighty, well, I hope this helps you with your process. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to contact me. I'm always happy to help you out with your questions and answer anything I can. All right, well, happy quilting and happy applique.